Hey guys, welcome to our channel. So, due to stuff going on inside, I wanted to get this video out. So once again, I find myself out here, which ain't a bad place to do this, by the way. The lighting's better, especially when I have stuff to see, so I guess it's all right that stuff's going on and I can't get anything done in there. But had a couple of questions. Colorado Skywatch didn't get it, what we were doing. Uh, I think in general, and John Kennedy expressed doubt that we could answer any Mandela effects with our decodes. Well, that's reasonable. That's understandable, considering the history. And we thought we had doubts too. We did. We weren't sure that this was going to be a thing we could do, but it is a thing we can do. All right. So, to start, I would say we started this channel originally just to point out some Mandela effects that we saw that we didn't see being covered by other channels. And that's all it was. And we got my fiance and I started the channel and started pointing out effects. And as time went on, we had questions. She had questions. I had questions. We'd seen other people asking questions. Um, why and how in other places. And we thought, well, gee, the answers have to be here. This changed, whatever the change may be, and in this case, Stouffer's the craft that we just got done doing. And we decided the answers had to be there somewhere. And so we got started on our process of finding answers. We decided, and at first we started off just like running some changed words like Kroger's, changed to Kroger, but it didn't necessarily go through all the way. We were just getting what we were getting out of it. And that's it. No big deal. But after a while, we started to think that maybe um, we should um, take just what changed. Maybe the answer was in just what changed, not necessarily the entire, changed word. So instead of Kroger's, the only thing that's did was an S popped up, so S would be your only change, right? And I think we had a couple of those. Fred Meyer's. The change to Fred Meyer. I think we combined a couple of those once and typed SS and got the Nazi Germany thing, among a few other things. Um, and at first, we were just going through and seeing what you got and what you didn't get. And we got some help along the way. Phoenix pointed out that these were falling into categories seemingly every time, so we started running categories, the categories that it was falling into. As we went along the way, we picked up more categories from our random hits search. And we discarded, like I said, a couple of techniques that we had started with in favor of uh, the different technique of just finding what changed, the changes, Soufeska, from Stouffer's to Craft after you crossed off the like letters. So we got quite a bit of help along the way. We got challenged to do certain things, and at first we were just looking for patterns. That's it. We also have a pattern of percentage changes for how much a percentage a song might change. 2%, 1%, 3%, less than 1% in many cases. And we got that in charts, and those do make a pattern. But in order to get anywhere, we had to establish a pattern of some sort. Now, a lot of times one university will come up over and over and over throughout the letters. And we use the letters, whatever's in the letters. So when you got, Stouffer's, for instance, and I don't have it out here, but I do have this out here. So you had SOUFESKA right here. Right here. SOUFESKA was your changes in stovetop from Stouffer's to Kraft. And you're able to run those letters forwards and backwards, and you could mix and match them any which way, because a computer surely would, but we don't. We don't have that sort of time or inclination to do all that. But forwards and backwards is generally enough. And as you do that, you start to establish a pattern. Certain things will come up over and over. Then it's a question of why, or why not in some cases. We have a lot of times that something will only come up over and over once, like Nanyang Technological University, right? Texas University didn't come up every time. The University of Knoxville, or whichever that was, didn't come up every time when we were decoding Guns N' Roses Better. But Nanyang did. Then the question became why. So it's arguable why the stuff is in there. It's not arguable that it's in there. We can prove that. We can prove there's a pattern. And that's where it started. All right, we established the patterns. And once we got through a decode through all the categories, we would be able to go back through and find something that stood out to look for as a quantum network user. And for a while, we were just running our numbers against them. And for a while, the numbers did not run back to them in any way. But all of a sudden, they did. So since we could no longer repeat it, we discarded that in favor of gematria. All right. And that is what brings me to where we introduced gematria. So my fiance, we were watching Zach Hubbard's channel, Gematria Effect News, a long time ago, really, and I didn't get it. My fiance got it more. But unfortunately, I moved on from it, and my fiance continued insisting that there was something to it. And, she followed it on her phone and whatnot, off and on, and insisted there was something to it. And we finally went back and checked into it again. We bought the book. And then we had we had gotten quantum network users out of 8 changes. Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin. We ended up finding Perry Stone Ministries, Willa Thorson, PhD, at Miami University, that we found out of Metallica Fade to Black. Soft and Dry, we found Zhu Yi, who teaches quantum mechanics, of all things. And we also found in the Big Lebowski, Claremont Graduate University. We found Coleman Shemy in Sultans of Swing. Just running our decodes. We haven't even got to the gematria yet. I'm just explaining that we found all that stuff. And gee whiz, I'm pretty sure there was another one that we found. Sherwin-Williams, we found MAWI DNA Technologies. All right. I'm going to get to those in a minute, but I'm just saying that, and without running the initial decode, there would be no way, for me anyway, to extract that information out of it. I would just be shooting blind. But if you run what's there in the changes, you find the pattern, and you can find something that fits the pattern or sticks out in the pattern that you can look at as a quantum network user. So after we learned gematria and the gematria code, which is the gematria code is the practice of coding numbers into letters or letters into numbers. The theory, uh, it's based in Kabbalah. It's based in the Bible. They've been using the code for thousands of years. Zach decodes the headlines every single day and busts them. And they're doing headlines by this code. All of your Cerveza-Bug headlines are all done by this code. You can go watch it. You can see it if you watch Zach's channel, Gematria Effect News. He's also got Gematria Effect Sports, but I don't think he's doing as much on that. What sports, right? Right now. So Gematria Effect News. And we bought the book and we tweaked the system a little tiny bit to try to connect quantum network users. And so far we've connected 10 in this manner. They all intertwine. They connect to themselves, as we found, Stofers and Stovetop. Stofers and Stuffing have the same gematria. And but now Stouffer's does not make stuffing anymore. Now it's Kraft that makes the stuffing. All right. But the CEO or the head of Stouffer's Foods Corp has the same gematria as Kraft Heinz, and that connects them. So even though it's switched, the gematria still connects them, and that's what this quantum computer will do. And we think now, after we've done 10 of them and connected them all, and they all seem to do the same pattern, we now think that the Freemasons or the Cabal made a bunch of these quantum computers, quantum chairs. If anyone wants to know what a quantum chair is, look up the Montauk Project. You'll find a Montauk chair that they used, and if you look up Project Looking Glass, you'll find that they still use Montauk chairs, which are quantum chairs, to see into other realities. And they're leaving a code when they do. They're leaving a code. And it's running this gematria algorithm. That's what the quantum computer's doing. That's how it was designed. These Freemason quantum computers were sure of it. Now we'll be able to use this system both to get answers for a lot of these effects, because I have a feeling a lot of these effects have to do with the quantum computers, quantum chairs. And some of these effects won't have anything to do with a quantum chair or a quantum computer. It'd just be like somebody died, so they shifted, and then things got weird for them. All right. And we haven't come across those yet, but we're sure they exist. All right. We're sure they exist. All right. And then we use the gematria calculator that I'll provide a link to it. And that's where we type the words, and there's 4 base ciphers in the gematria code. So if you run this calculator, you get all 4 ciphers. We don't use the bottom number, but we could. They're important, but not important enough for us to use them and have a coincidence theorist say that, the bottom numbers, a lot of the bottom numbers add up to 8, 9, 1, 1, 8, 8, 1, 1, depending on what you're running. And so, although they are important, we're not using them. We're only using the top numbers. That's it. And in there, for as many as we've done 10 so far, there can be no coincidence in our mind. I mean, even if we're trying to do as much of the scientific process as possible. But even if we were even in the scientific process, if you get a repeatable result over and over and over, you can't just say, oh, well, that's a coincidence. I mean, you have to throw out what you can't repeat. But in this case, I'm wondering I don't know about throwing it out, because if we find one that we can't repeat and it's still a change, then something else is going on. It wasn't done with the Freemason quantum computer. It doesn't fit. We haven't found that yet. But if we do, I don't think it's a reason to throw out the whole process, because we already know that there's going to be other causes for the changes besides just quantum computers. We know that. We strongly believe that. There's just going to be more changes done with quantum computers probably at this point than you're going to find um, shifts for other causes, just because of the sheer number of quantum computers, the sheer number of realities they're looking into, quantum chairs, Montauk Project, Looking Glass, you name it. So you got all that going on. So that I think those will far outnumber any other cause. All right. But so far, that's what we found. All right. And that also covers our theory that the Freemasons designed some of these quantum computers, and it's running a gematria algorithm. So if I were at, I don't know, Miami University, and, you know, my name was Willa Thorson, and I made a quantum calculation, the quantum computer would then set out to find something that the gematria would match. Both me, Willa Thorson, I'm using that as an example because we already have that. I could also use Perry Stone Ministries, but I already started on Willa Thorson. So it will go out, it finds on Metallica Fade to Black. If it changes will or to will, and it changes aren't to not, that's all it needed to do. And then it could leave its entire code of what it calculated, and it would quantumly and gematrially entangle the other effects that were made with with quantum computers designed by the Freemasons running that same algorithm. So they would forever, infinitely intertwine. And that's what we're finding here. They intertwine. They hook up to themselves, and like we demonstrated, and that's the other thing I wanted to mention. But they hook up to themselves and the other effects, and that's the other thing I wanted to mention. In those numbers that I decoded yesterday, and those number lists, those were everything I mentioned was from other effects. Now, when we break this stuff down, we say stovetop stuffing. We go ahead and run stovetop because stovetop's what it's normally called. We run Kraft because Kraft is who makes it now. We run Stouffer's because Stouffer's used to make it, and that was what was on the box, Kraft and Stouffer's. We find out who's in charge of Kraft, McGill Patrico. We find out that Kraft is actually Kraft Heinz, so we take that down. All right, that's how we're breaking these down, guys. All right, see this? That's what we do. We just break it down. In Stouffer's, it's in Michael Moon is the head of Stouffer's. We also would run Stouffer's Foods Corp because that's what Stouffer's is called, although that wasn't what was on the box. Hence, you got Kraft and Stouffer's. You find out where Kraft and Stouffer's were: Chicago, Illinois, and Cleveland, Ohio, respectively. You take stove and top and stuffing and run all three of those by itself because you break down stovetop stuffing. Ideally, I would have broke down tertiary care hospital, but you run tertiary care hospital because we found that they had the cases of the fever of unknown origin. They were studying the fever of unknown origin, which is what came up as a pattern that was there every time. And sure enough, that's where this calculation came from. They were looking at the fever of unknown origin. You find out that tertiary care hospital is in Odisha, India. So you run Odisha, India. Yeah, you run Odisha by itself. You run India by itself. You run the person that's in charge of that hospital, Dr. Rajiv Singhal. You run Rajiv Singhal without the doctor, whatever. You run fever of unknown origin because that's what they were looking at. You run FUO because that's what it was labeled as. Then you run Tertiary Care Hospital in Odisha, India. Excuse me. You run the direct changes, SOUFESKA, and you run Stouffer's Craft because those were Stouffer's changed to Craft. So we run them together. That's how we've done it every time. And they intertwine through these numbers. Then we run them through the Gematria calculator. We get 4 base ciphers. And as we go, it's getting more complicated because you've got not only what we've decoded so far and what we broke down and got the gematria of, then you also have the gematria of what you're running now. In this case, it'll be Stovetop. In the next case, it'll be I Love Rock and Roll, assuming we find something in that. Okay, so that takes care of breaking down the finds. And the effects. You also, and I explained the quantum entanglement and the gematria entanglement to where if these are actually Freemason run quantum computers, they will go out and find something that hooks to not only me, if I happen to be running the quantum computer, where I'm running it from, and it will go find a change that connects to that through gematria, and it will also make sure that will connect to the other changes through the same code, and we use the calculator to find that. All right. So that's what we're talking about when we're in quantum entanglement. That's just a theory of quantum entanglement. I mean, if you spin an atom here, then another atom a million light years away or whatever will spin in the opposite direction. That's quantum entanglement. They're all entangled. And we're saying this would be a combination of quantum entanglement and this gematria code that these quantum computers would make sure that they ran because that's their algorithm. Because they were designed by the Freemasons, we think, or Kabbalah. All right. So that's how you can, once you get something, once you run the decode, the original letters and numbers decode, and you find something, then you can run that against the gematria and see if it fits. If it doesn't, obviously we were wrong. Or you got something else going on. So there's a couple ways to remedy that. We could go back through and look for something else that fit the pattern. If that doesn't work, then maybe we got just a shift. A shift for some other reason. Who knows why? So that takes care of that. Yes, and that's the other thing. With this, we found a very consistent pattern. We ran a random letter generator at one point a few years ago and got only 1 out of 6 to go through forwards and backwards through the numbers and letters. 1 out of 6 with a random letter generator. With our Mandela effect changes, we are 100% to go forwards and backwards. That doesn't seem like a coincidence because they're not random letters at all. They're a code, and it's a consistent pattern, and it's become even more consistent. We've answered even more questions since we have incorporated gematria at the end. We've also incorporated gematria to try to group words in the translations together to stuff we can run, and we have had some success doing that. No doubt. No doubt. And once you get a pattern consistent enough, in our opinion, it can no longer be a coincidence. Now, when we first started, we didn't know. I wouldn't say we thought we could, but we didn't know if we could get answers this way. But real answers are never going to be easy, and they're never going to be easy to get. And apparently, they're never going to be easy to understand. So I'm hoping that this is helping. So you get a consistent pattern, and we don't think here, my fiance and I don't believe that it could be a coincidence. We don't think I can't speak for Phoenix, but he's helped along the way, and from his comments, I don't think he believes it's a coincidence either. And I don't think Danny thinks it's a coincidence, whether they get it completely or not. I mean, some things are just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. And these are one of those things. We got too many. The patterns too consistent. The gematria is too consistent. If you go try to just hook up some random stuff through gematria, good luck. It won't work. So it's got to be by design, and these are. And so we already talked about the epic failure of our random letter generator. Again, we ran it 1 out of 6. We used different. We pre-selected. We modeled them after Mandela effects. Okay, if we had a 4-letter Mandela effect, we said, okay, we're going to generate randomly 4 letters. Then we did, and I wrote them down. We said, I know we did 3, and we said, okay, we're going to do 3 letters this time. We did 2 letters because of soft and dry. We did 7 letters because of a different effect that we did. So we modeled them after other effects, and we called the number of letters that we were going to use before we generated the letters. So it was completely random and completely not done by us at all. Not even to the point of, generating the letters and saying, okay, that's enough. No, we picked that first. And 1 out of 6 only. That's not very good considering 100%, again, of the Mandela effects have gone through in this way. So then we would go ahead and we will run simple binary code, which we just made a chart. A is 0, B is 1, and we did that all the way to Z. And then we go through and run and make a binary code out of whatever. This would be 8 letters. Some are only 3. The Bible one was, holy crap, like a line and a half long or something, maybe even 2 lines long. It was long. In fact, we still got to finish that one. We were going through the numbers at the time that we got cut off and had to move, and haven't dug our stuff up. Hopefully we get moved here soon and we can dig it all out. But that's where we're at. I'm hoping this explained it, and that's all the points that I had to cover. I covered it all. So if I missed anything, somebody please let me know. We will try to answer better. I don't know how to explain it any better. I mean, to cover the points, we decided that the answers had to be in the changes or extractions. We got started doing it slightly differently. We had to discard other techniques in favor of better techniques. We got a lot of help along the way from the likes of Phoenix and Danny and Megan and so forth. We did a whole video, and Jesse R, if he's out there still. Sharky Tana also. But we also got patterns and number and we managed to get a system of number conversions so we could run numbers. We established patterns and picked out potential quantum network users from the forwards and backwards decode of the changed letters. We introduced gematria and gematrial connections, and the gematria code, and the gematria. We used the gematria calculator to get that. Then we break down whatever we find and the changes. We break it down as far as we can to get as much information as possible. And then we run the gematria calculator and see if they match anything, see if they hook up, see if they hook to other effects, see if they hook to each other. There's a lot of things that have to happen and go and be right in order for it to work, or for us to say confirmed. Quantum network user. So We talked about our theory that the Freemasons designed a bunch of the quantum computers and use a gematria algorithm. All right. So that whenever it makes the calculation, it's going to change something that matches the gematria on everything. And what they look for is going to be right there in that code. And who did it, in many cases, is going to be right in that code. And it's going to run that algorithm every time, no matter which one it is. If it's a Freemason designed quantum computer, it will infinitely quantumly entangle the changes and who was running the calculation. Just infinitely entangle them that way. We talked about we got the consistent pattern, and we don't think it's a coincidence because it's just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. Like I said, 1 out of 6 random letters went through. 100% of our effects went through that we've done so far this way. It's been an evolving process, but you have to evolve to be right or even get answers. You just got to. We used what we talked about, and then the last thing we do again is that simple binary code and try to squeeze a little more information out. So hopefully this helps. I just tried to go for it, not worry about how long it ran. Anyone that is interested and wants to figure it out will watch. Anyone that isn't, well, they won't. So this was more for a couple of people, but this is for everybody. This is for Danny, Phoenix, anybody that wants a better understanding of what's going on. Megan, I'm sure you're still out there, if you're still watching it all. I mean, it is complicated. I mean, I know it's complicated. I, of all people, know it's complicated. So I can completely understand if somebody doubts or doesn't understand. So I hope this helps. Again, just too much of a coincidence to be a coincidence. We get this consistently. And if you follow along, you know that it's pretty consistent patterns. And now this gematria is matching up. And I would again advise anybody, I would send anybody to Zach's channel, Gematria Effect News. He busts the headlines every day with this code. And we use the application of this code for a different purpose. But he's really good at busting the headlines and such. So maybe I'll link that up too with the Gematria calculator. So hopefully this helps, guys. If not, let me know. And for now, thanks for all your thumbs up, thumbs down when appropriate. Thanks for all your comments, leads, feedback, and subscriptions. And thanks for watching, guys. Again, let me know if this helps. Hopefully it does. Otherwise, we will try again and try to explain it in a different way. I'm hoping to do a live stream so I can answer questions in real time, but we got to find a place to get moved to first. And we hit a bit of a snag, so hopefully we can get around it. We're trying. So, for now, guys, you guys, thanks for watching, and for now, you guys have a great rest of your evening.